I hope everybody's had a great weekend. Let's see here. Talk to you all about flying aboard almost Huey developed in Vietnam. The Bell UH-1 Iroquois, commonly known as the Huey, was a multi-purpose utility helicopter famous for its use during the Vietnam War. In the early 1960s, then SPC Frankie Carroll was crew chief aboard one of these birds and helped test it out as a jump plane. Carroll served in the A Company, 101st Aviation Battalion, Provision 101st Airborne Division. Flying aboard. Former crew chief recalls the early years of Army helicopters. In the early 1960s, Frankie Carroll was already serving in the legendary 506th Infantry Regiment at Fort Campbell when he first watched the Army's Ground Brigade television series, The Big Picture. The series told the Army story in history and in current events. One particular episode held Carl's attention. The production showed a new tactical use of helicopters equipped with rockets and machine guns, much like seen on We Were Soldiers, the movie by Mel Gibson. If you haven't seen that movie, you should check it out, especially war veterans. I had seen this new jet engine helicopters, how cool that was, because prior to do that, they were the piston gasoline engines, he said. Soon thereafter, Carroll re-enlisted for 6 years with an intent of flying on one of those birds. Little did he know that from all the fall of 1962 until the spring of 1964, Carroll would serve as the crew chief for the UH-1 Iroquois helicopter, which was displayed in front of Building T-39 on Screaming Eagle Boulevard for more than 4 decades. From World War II until 2006, Building T-39 served as the 101st Airborne Division headquarters. The Huey was placed at the location in the early 1970s after the 101st returned from Vietnam. Installation historian John O'Brien of the Don F. Pratt Museum, I spoke to you about several videos. That's behind the commissary, you can't miss it. Right there, and just walk in, bring your family, your kids. Walk in there and check it out. It's got a lot of history, especially of the 101st Airborne Division. Returned from Vietnam, installation historian John O'Brien of the Don F. Pratt Museum noted that the spot, the geographic center of the highest elevation on Fort, is the highest elevation on Fort Campbell. Carroll first saw the bird its new perch in 1994, 30 years after he left the Army. He got out of his truck and walked to the podium and peered at the serial number inside. It's just a lump in my throat. He said a Huey's a Huey, but that was my bird. The pilot gets the aircraft for each flight. The crew chief is assigned to the aircraft, and the aircraft is assigned to the crew chief. I assigned the receipt to the supply room and took possible possession of the aircraft. That was my aircraft. On January 17th, the vintage Huey was removed permanently from its podium for a complete restoration after years of weather damage. Carl, 73, read about the restoration of his home in Florida Panhandle. He recalls serving in A Company, 101st Aviation Battalion, Provisional 101st Airborne Division, and flying on that bird. We were supplying air ambulance to the remote areas around Fort Campbell. We hauled gear around, we slung stuff underneath. He said basically in my area we learned what the Huey could do, what its limits were, that better prepared us for the future. Times were different back then. It was the dawn of vertical development. warfare, paratroopers, and the helicopter's air assault forces. During that era, we started seeing the feasibility of using that Huey as a jump plane. Carol said first they went up and they threw bags out of the plane, 150-pound bags. Then they had to put warm bodies in to jump out. For 3 consecutive days, Carol was remembered testing the Huey by jumping out of the bird 3 times each day. They wanted the same person to experience different conditions, different jump altitudes. He said, because I was a Huey crew chief and air mod, I was able to get my senior jump wings before I left the outfit. Although a crew chief, Carol also got some piloting time in during some of their company's training exercises. Today, the helicopter has a pilot and co-pilot. The crew chief flies in the back in the cargo compartment. He said, in my day, it was a single officer aircraft that had a pilot and a crew chief. I flew in the left front seat. Every single pilot I flew with said here, you want to fly a little while, to a kid that spent his life on John Deere tractors. It was awesome. That bird was awesome. Carroll had every intention to continue to fly, but a non-service connected injury ended his Army career. That a specialist was medically discharged in 1964. I was going into be a career aviation guy. He said I even looked at becoming a warrant officer and flying the things. Looking back at his brief service in the 101st, Carroll realizes now the impact of training at that time. What we did here was the prep to get ready for the guys to go to Vietnam. He said the guys that flew these birds in war have undergoing admiration. They went to Vietnam and they raised hell with Huey helicopters. That was really made the Huey. Such an ionic bird was its Vietnam mission. Having flown in other helicopters, Carroll said there's just nothing like a Huey. As most soldiers will tell you, even to this day, in war-torn places trying to keep peace and hope alive, when you hear the sound of a helicopter, it's going to be a good day, especially those being rescued. With that jet engine, it's made it a faster aircraft and a much more reliable aircraft. These piston engines have a propensity breakdown. Our engines they just didn't quit. They never quit. Carl's Huey was first produced as an A model UH-1A Iroquois and had been upgraded to UH-1B. The bird was in active flying status from May 11, 1959 until July 13, 1971. It had a turboshaft gas turbine engine and seated 9. The helicopter is on the Army Historic Property Register. With command support, the 96th Aviation Support Battalion and 1st Combat Aviation Brigade started restoring the UH-1B with the past couple of weeks. Master Sergeant J.M. Byrd, 96 ASB Protection Control, non-commissioned officer in charge, said the process is expected to take several months, with soldiers volunteering countless hours in the effort. Now living within the driving distance of Eline Air Force Base, Pensacola Naval Air Station, the Army Aviation Center of Rucker, Alabama. Carroll said enjoys the sights and sounds of all military aviation. The last time he saw his Huey in person at Fort Campbell was in 2009. During a week of Eagles, Carroll said he's happy the bird is getting the reset it deserves. Our military history helps determine how we go forward, he said. If I was closer, I'd be up there volunteering my time to help. Let's see. That would be the Huey right there. Now, folks, you know, most day and age, Hueys have advanced helicopters in the days and aren't what they used to be back then. But you know, when a Huey comes in, you hear a big sound as the rotors turn. God bless them for flying them in and out of danger, especially keeping peace alive. One day, God willing, that fence will come down, as Kim Jong Jr. believes. After all, it's a fence of ignorance and it's a fence of waste of taxpayer money. People are looking forward to landing, going to Mars. We got better things to do. Instead of watching some fence that's a fence of ignorance. One day, God willing, people will stand there and shake hands and people will start crossing back and forth. Trading, farming, you name it. Wouldn't that be a dream of dreams? After all, it's what will help the future go forward. And gift of peace, a better interest for everyone. Moving right along. See here. Raising Your Sights This New Year by Captain Nathan White, 101st Combat Aviation Brigade. With the state of the new year, many of us begin with resolutions to accomplish great things and make major changes in our lives. While it is all well-intentioned, we often do not live up to the expectations that we set for ourselves. This year, I would like to offer a means of motivation that can go far beyond New Year's resolutions and our own willpower, in its ability to change us. While I'm suggesting finding a mentor. No, I'm not talking about finding an old man living on the top of a mountain. I'm not even necessarily talking about finding a mentor who is currently living. What I'm talking about is finding someone who can raise your sights on what it means to truly live. Someone who you want to be like and someone who you admire. Kids turn to superheroes magazines. Who do we turn to other than God? Your parents, your family? That would be an example. That person could be a friend, a supervisor, a relative, or someone that you may only have heard of. Maybe you want to emulate the hard work of your father, and the courage of Lieutenant Michael, like Michael Murphy, or compassion of Mother Teresa. Maybe you had the leadership skills of your platoon sergeant, or the faith of the Sunday school teacher you had growing up. Whatever it is that you and the person you pursue it. Learn that they develop that character, talk with them about it, read a book, or watch a movie about them. You can even just observe how they live. Even knowing great people, either in person or through learning about their lives, raised our standard or that we see as normal, can show us what is possible and what have the ability to become great people. Challenge our status quo in ways that each of us has settled for less than the very best. But how do we move beyond what we are right now? Humans are by nature creatures of habit, but we learn mostly by observing. If you've ever been around small children, you will know that mimic those what they are around learn by watching, who are no different as adults. The best way to learn something to watch someone else is to do it. This is why it's important to surround ourselves with people that we want to be more like. We become like those we are around. This is especially true of those who could hold a greater influence in our lives and in our hearts. The Apostle Paul said it best, do not be deceived, bad company ruins good morals. If you turn to the Bible, 1 Corinthians 15-33. But I also think that the opposite can be true. Good company can help us become better people. As you begin this New Year's, I would encourage you to look beyond the tradition and resolution that you have made in years past. Instead of making your goal to find a mentor, someone who would want you to become like, you'll find that it may be a decision that your lifelong impact on you. We all have those people whom we admire. This year, make a determination to go beyond admiration. As the old saying goes, imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. God be with you all over the world. My deepest prayers also go out to Brigadier General Mark R. Stammer, Acting Senior Commander, Division Command Sergeant Major, Command Sergeant Major Alonzo J. Smith, his family, God bless. Garrison Commander Colonel David Buck Dillinger, Garrison Command Sergeant Major Command Sergeant Stephen Bower, all watch this show. Garrison Public Affairs Officer Bob Jenkins, Command Information Officer Brindlin Carpenter, Editor-in-Chief of this paper, The Courier, Rick Rizipica, and Assistant Editor Michelle Vowell. God bless you all. Especially General Campbell. I was looking for you the other day, sir, and a couple other high rankers. You're all MIA as usual. Well, don't take it the wrong way when you're knocking on my door and I don't answer exactly 4 a.m. I'm busy. Still knock the heck out. And other you damsels, all I could say is keep trying to later get a hold of it. I've been trying to get a hold of you. After all. Somebody has to care. Somebody has to go around all over the get base and raise morale and keep morale going. Or Should you all have all the fun. It'll be even a greater day of days when I'm walking around with a jacket as my name, rank, stands for one of many characters. Many things. God bless y'all. Y'all stay warm out there. Stay positive. Be kind to others as they are to you. Much love.